Federal Judge Eileen Cannon is out with yet another order in the Mar-A-Lago document case. I know. I got to report on it. We got to all be updated on what she's doing so we understand the stakes and what's taking place. Here's what she said, though, in her new order. She has now reorganized hearing dates and reshuffled the scheduling of hearings in late June so that on June 21st, there will now be a day-long hearing on the lawfulness of Special Counsel Jack Smith's appointment under the Appointments Clause. On June 24th, there will be a morning hearing on the lawfulness of Special Counsel Jack Smith's appointment under the Appropriations Clause. So a day and a half Judge Eileen Cannon's going to devote to whether or not Special Counsel Jack Smith was lawfully appointed, when we know that courts across the country have said that the special counsel appointment process is legal. This should not require a hearing at all. This should be something that's simply briefed on the papers. It's a legal issue. There's no basis for oral argument at all, but she's devoting nearly 2 days for that. But then in the afternoon on June 24th, there will be an afternoon hearing on Special Counsel Jack Smith's motion to modify Donald Trump's conditions of release. And then on June 25th, there will be a hearing on Donald Trump's motion to suppress information found in the search warrant execution at Mar-a-Lago, as well as attorney-client information disclosed under the crime fraud exception. The 3-day evidentiary hearing regarding Donald Trump's motion to compel discovery has been canceled for now. So just complete and utter chaos and disorganization. Regarding hearings on the lawfulness of Special Counsel Jack Smith's appointment, as I've described them in other videos, it's like a tinfoil hat legal argument at this point. It's so baseless, so frivolous. It shouldn't require any oral argument at all. It shouldn't require any briefing at all. It should just be denied sua sponte, or just denied immediately. But Judge Eileen Cannon's devoting a day and a half to that issue. She's also devoting a day on June 25th to Donald Trump's motion to suppress, and Trump claiming that attorney-client information was improperly and unlawfully given to Special Counsel Jack Smith, when in fact a federal judge in Washington, D.C., Judge Beryl Howell, and then after her, Judge Boasberg, the presiding judge, actually respected federal jurists who understand the law, who know their roles, who understand what it means to be a federal judge, who understand the law. They were the individuals who had made rulings on the fact that the crime fraud exception applied, allowing Special Counsel Jack Smith to get certain documents and the DOJ to get certain documents because Donald Trump was using his lawyers in furtherance of a crime. The same way a federal judge in California, Federal Judge David Carter, made a similar ruling in connection with January 6th, not in the Mar-a-Lago case, with respect to Donald Trump's use of lawyers in order to engage in criminality there. But you have right here, you have Federal Judge Eileen Cannon saying, despite what the federal judge in D.C. did, I want to hold a hearing as well. So you see, a day and a half on frivolous stuff about the lawfulness on Jack Smith, a day on a frivolous hearing regarding attorney-client information being turned over to Special Counsel Jack Smith, and Donald Trump's motion to suppress. I mean, totally frivolous hearings there. But she is devoting just a few hours on June 24th, no rush, no hurry for her, to Special Counsel Jack Smith's request that there be modifications on the conditions of Donald Trump's release, because Donald Trump is lying that the Department of Justice and FBI is trying to assassinate him. And Donald Trump, the convicted felon, is lying about the DOJ and FBI trying to assassinate him, which is causing death threats and serious threats directed at FBI and DOJ officials. So special counsel Jack Smith asked that there be a hearing immediately on modifying the conditions of Trump's release so he and others on his behalf can't lie and say that the FBI and the DOJ are trying to assassinate him when they're not. Just the lie. Donald Trump's using the standard use of force policy that exists in every single search warrant that is executed. And Donald Trump claims that because that same use of deadly force procedures were used in Mar-a-Lago, despite the fact that Donald Trump wasn't present at Mar-a-Lago, the DOJ and FBI made sure he wasn't present. They coordinated with Secret Service. There was never a threat to Donald Trump. So Trump got way more benefits than anybody else in the United States would, where the same procedure and protocol would be used. Donald Trump spreads the lie, and that's causing harm on law enforcement. And special counsel Jack Smith put in his motion to modify the conditions of release. Originally, Jack Smith filed it right away, and then Judge Eileen Cannon struck it and removed it from the docket and denied it without prejudice so that Jack Smith couldn't appeal to the 11th Circuit. And ultimately, Jack Smith had to refile it. He couldn't go to the 11th Circuit to get an appeal because Judge Eileen Cannon did not deny it with prejudice. I've seen people also say Jack Smith's getting outsmarted by Judge Cannon. Judge Cannon is getting the better of him. The bottom line is, if you think about it like a sports event, and you think about what a referee is supposed to be, or an umpire in baseball, they're supposed to call balls and strikes, right? That's what the role of a judge is, to just in an even-handed way say, here's what the law is. And when a umpire improperly ejects a coach or calls a strike when it's really a ball, or calls a ball when it's really a strike, I mean, there's nothing the banner can actually do. Our system, our judicial system, is based on a ton of deference to federal judges. They have lifetime appointments, right? They're appointed by the president. They're Senate confirmed. They have the job for life. They have almost unfettered discretion over their schedule. And there's only limited times where you can file appeals to what federal judges do. When there's a final order, or you can appeal on what's called an interlocutory basis in very rare circumstances. And one of those rare circumstances simply don't exist right now because Judge Cannon is not making substantive rulings. So this order that I just read for you, and I'll just show you the motion. I'll put it up here so you can the order rather, so you can see her order for yourself. She does these things under the guise of scheduling, because you can't appeal scheduling orders. You can't. Jack Smith will lose if he goes to the 11th Circuit, and any prospect of getting Judge Eileen Cannon removed, he will lose. It's kind of like if you strike out once after trying to get the judge removed, they ain't going to entertain that again. So there's no way to bring up a scheduling issue. The 11th Circuit will reject that right away. What Jack Smith has to wait for, unfortunately, is for Judge Cannon to make a ruling on one of these things. If she rules to dismiss the case, if she grants Donald Trump's motion to dismiss on the appointments clause issue, if she grants Donald Trump's motion to dismiss on an appropriations clause saying that Jack Smith is an employee and he shouldn't be special counsel and the appropriations is unlawful, these are not valid arguments. But assuming she says that Jack Smith, that the case should be dismissed, then Jack Smith can go to the 11th Circuit right there. But you see right there, she says on June 21, as previously scheduled, the court will hear the appointments clause argument. That's going to take place all day. On June 24th, the court will hear arguments as follows. And then appropriation clause challenges. Then you see right there, 3 p.m. special counsel's modification for conditions of release. Then you see the June 25 hearing on Trump's motion to suppress and saying that attorney-client privilege documents unlawfully made its way to the special counsel. Should be noted as well that at these hearings on the unlawfulness of Jack Smith's appointment, remember I reported on this the other day, that Judge Eileen Cannon is allowing third parties who are not parties to this case two right-wing groups and then a group that's trying to uphold the law said, well, if you're going to let them in, let us in as well. So these non-parties are going to be allowed to make oral arguments before Judge Aileen Cannon in these all-day circus-like hearings. Just think about that. She's inviting non-parties to just show up, these amici curiae. I mean, just to show up and make arguments. So I've said before that her corruption is matched by her incompetence, but both her corruption and the incompetence, kind of all of this together, though, is causing delay, and justice delayed is justice denied. And you also are aware of what the Court of Appeals in Georgia is doing as well, where they've stopped the Georgia prosecution in Fulton County. The Court of Appeals, I'm sure you've watched Legal AF, we talk about it, other hot takes too. The Georgia Court of Appeals has stopped the proceedings in Fulton County being prosecuted by Fani Willis until such time as they make a ruling, which is not going to happen until October, at least, and maybe even into 2025, regarding this bogus motion to disqualify Fani Willis, where Trump alleged that because of she had an adult consensual relationship, Donald Trump of all people, convicted felon, hush money payment, sexual assaulter, that an adult consensual interoffice relationship tainted the proceedings. And really what the Court of Appeals is trying to do is they're just trying to kill the case until after the election. And that's what they did in Georgia. So if you want to talk about actual lawfare, it's not when a case is presented to a jury of your peers and a jury gets a grand jury indicts a jury of your peers. Here's the case. If they find you innocent, you're innocent. If it's a hung jury, it's a hung jury. It's hard to convince 12 people to be unanimous about anything. That's the way our system works. 7 weeks of trial, 5 weeks of evidence, 12 hours of deliberation. A jury comes back, finds Donald Trump guilty. That's not lawfare. That's the system playing out. Lawfare is when you have your own judges kill cases when we all know crimes were committed. Stealing classified documents is not okay. Can't you stealing our nuclear records? Donald Trump stealing our nuclear codes. He's stealing war plans. He's stealing national defense information. And then he's saying they belong to him personally. What? These are documents that belong to we the people. When you leave that office, you're just an average citizen. Even when you're in that office, you're not above the law. But when you certainly leave, you don't own our government. That's never how America was supposed to work. Are you kidding me? I don't care who you are. We all know that. That should be obvious. That's not a difficult concept. And then interfering with the results of a free and fair election. We know what Donald Trump did in Georgia. We know how he destroyed the lives of Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss. We know the lies that were spread. We know that Rudy Giuliani was found liable and has a huge $150 million verdict or whatever it is for defamation. We know the conduct that took place. We know that they were stealing voting machines and records from areas in Georgia, and Trump was sending people to do that. Heck, there were people who are part of the RICO conspiracy who have already pled guilty, who were involved in that. So we know what went down. But law and order means law and order. And for Republicans, or MAGA Republicans especially, but Republicans, law and order is when the law and order benefits them, not we the people. If it benefits them, it's good. If not, just all of the concepts of laws, whether it's states' rights, federalism, whether it's the fact that there are co-equal branches of government, whether there's no one's above the law, whether that the most basic fundamental concepts, what the Constitution says, what the law says, just throw it all out when it's the Republicans, because they don't want to follow it. We have to be aware of what's going down. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million subscribers together. Thanks for watching.
Enough! Send it to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.